What's up, YouTube? Welcome to another video. Today is November 18th, 2022. I just thought there's been a lot going on this week, so I thought I would throw up a video, discuss some things, give you guys my thoughts on some of the stuff that I'm seeing play out, and just been a really interesting week overall. Actually, last couple weeks have been super interesting. So we've had the U.S. elections, we've had the whole FTX, SBF blow up, and Trudeau accosted by Chinese President Xi at the G20 on the sidelines there. Just been a pretty crazy couple weeks, and it's worth kind of giving an update. So, quick disclaimer though, I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research before making any investment decision like buying gold or silver or following any of the strategies I discuss on this channel. It's for entertainment purposes only. Consult a financial advisor before making any financial decisions. So I'm looking at the markets today. They're kind of flattish. Oil's below $80. Gold's down a bit at 1750. Crypto, I mean, Bitcoin's down to 16.5-ish, 16.6. Yeah, so I guess the first thing I'll discuss is that whole FTX implosion and the fallout from that. It's actually crazy, but it's not completely unexpected. And this is the danger with cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, any of this stuff. And here in like kind of the stacking gold community, I feel like we understand the importance of, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And if you store your crypto on an exchange, you have virtually no control over that. And I would also just like to add as well, if you own stocks through a broker, um, even online brokers and stuff like that, you actually don't legal. I think they're like loaned to you by the brokerage and stuff like that. You actually don't really have legal ownership. Check into that statement. I don't want to say that that's a legally true statement or anything like that, but I think that's the way it is. And the reason is because I own shares in a couple different things, and some of which I am actually a registered shareholder. I have title, and that's I think like the key. I actually have title to those shares. They're in my name. I have, the QSIP numbers and stuff like that. Whereas in a brokerage house, like if you're looking at TD Ameritrade, or if you're on Schwab, or, any of these, Robinhood and stuff like that, I don't think it's the same thing legally. So if they go bust, I would say look into it, but there is a possibility that you could lose all your shares, all the shares that you think you have and that you would hold on to. They might just be like in a general sort of pool in the brokerage house or whatever. So and if anybody can shed light on that, I'd appreciate it, because that is something that that is very important these days, because it involves, and here's the buzzword of the day or year or whatever our times, counterparty risk. The people who are supposed to be holding our assets, they're not really holding them in our names in trust. They're actually trading, they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and you literally have no control. And I think the crypto industry as a whole, I think is headed towards massive regulation. And it's kind of funny because, they want it to be anti-establishment, against the system. We'll build this parallel system and it'll be all great. And instead, that whole industry, I don't want to tar everything, but there's been a lot of fraud, major fraud go on in that industry. And it's kind of funny. I remember, a year or two ago, I saw Alex Mashinsky from Celsius have a debate with Peter Schiff, gold versus Bitcoin or crypto and stuff like that. And he was like, hey, you invest, you park your money with me because I'll give you a yield. Gold doesn't give you a yield and stuff like that. It's just like, so here we are, and just on gold as well. I'd just like to say, there's been, the past 2 years, many stackers have been kind of kicking their butts, and people in this gold community, gold bugs and that. It's just like, hey, why isn't gold performing? Why isn't it doing what Bitcoin's doing and this and that? And I think now we know why. Gold, this stuff right here, is the anti-bubble. I mean, it's basically been flat sideways to down the past couple years, whereas everything else seems to have taken right off. And that to me presents a really great opportunity, because as we're seeing now, crypto's imploding and stuff. It was a bubble. That whole space, NFTs, cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin, and all that, all the altcoins and tokens, and what is it? I don't even know what they're called, local tokens, or anyway, all of that stuff, native tokens and stuff. They're all, that was a massive bubble, and yeah, it is what it is. I will say though, it is the smallest bubble though. So it's kind of interesting that we're seeing, the smallest bubble go bust, but it has a lot to do with regulation. There's no backstops in that industry and stuff. It's like the Fed's not coming in to rescue FTX or Celsius and stuff like that. So that's why, maybe there's looking at kind of, if you're the Fed, maybe that's kind of, let that go, and hope that that's enough. But there's so many interfaces where, the cryptoverse interfaced with the financial system, that, I think there's going to be some real pain and real losses amongst investors and individuals. But again, crypto, I do just as a disclaimer, I do own a small position in Bitcoin. I own that. I buy it through ShakePay, and I like throw it into cold storage wallet. I like to kind of hold it myself, and because I've been burned. I once owned Ethereum through an exchange. I wasn't tech savvy at the time, as many years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. I just wrote a blog post about this, so check out my Road to Wealth and Freedom. I just wrote a blog post about some of my thoughts about this crypto stuff, and my own personal experience losing all my money. Anyway, it's a pretty good read. I kind of lay the things out a little bit more in depth, and maybe more, I don't know, intellectually or something like that than I do in just these kind of random conversations on YouTube. So check that out. But yeah, anyways, I lost all my money. Big lesson learned. Hey, don't leave it on the exchanges. Take it off. At the time, I didn't have my own personal wallet because I was worried I would get hacked. I'm just like the kind of little guy, right? I figured these big exchanges, it was safe there because, they have, controls and stuff like that, can prevent hacks and stuff. And I just thought, there'd just be more security. And my crypto would be more secure. But that's the problem. You're leaving it there. And I'm not the only one who thinks that way or who thought that way. Many people have left their money on the exchange. Some of it's to, earn extra interest and earn extra tokens or whatever, like the Celsius model and stuff like that. And, but, I think there's a lot of people who just kind of genuinely, they don't have the knowledge, the know-how, the technical expertise to kind of hold it themselves, and that was certainly how I felt. That this was 5 years ago, something like that, 6 years ago, and so you're trusting in the exchange, and it turns out the biggest threat to your money isn't from hackers; it's from the exchange itself. They might be engaged in fraud, or they could go bust and you could lose everything. So I hold mine. I have a ledger. That's what I do. I store it there. It's a small position. I don't know where this is going to go. I think there's a lot of damage in that space. Bitcoin, like I said, 16.5. I mean, it was like what, 60,000 or something like that at its peak. It's going down, and I don't know where the bottom is. I've been buying little snippets of Bitcoin here and there. I should probably pick some up now. It's pretty beat up. I think it's probably still going to go lower. So, but I mean, that's the thing, right? I'm not gambling with Bitcoin. I have a very small position, and I add small bits of money to it at very depressed prices. I don't even know how to value the thing. To me, it's a complete speculation. I wouldn't even consider it really like an investment. This is pure speculation. And if it goes to zero, if my money goes to zero, I can live with that. I'm not going to jump out a window or anything like that. Um, what's happened the past weeks, people have lost everything. And again, diversification is so important now more than ever. You can't have all your money tied up in one particular thing or one particular asset. I mean, it's just common sense. um, but and diversification isn't owning 1,000 different tokens and cryptocurrencies and that. It's actually true diversification among asset classes: real estate, stocks, bonds, gold, silver, precious metals, I guess, commodities, cash, and maybe some crypto, right? Like that's kind of what I would say is fairly diversified. And it also means you're not going to win all the time. There's going to be days, a lot of days I look at my stuff, my things, and my investments and stuff, and it's just everything just is kind of basically flat. I'm not really ahead and I'm not really down, and it's that kind of slow, boring approach. You win some, you lose some. Maybe my oil stocks are doing great one day, but everything else is kind of lagging, or gold's doing better and my oil stocks are down. There's like different pairs. Then it's the miners and the metal, and that's different. Of course, real estate and the bond markets, and that the bonds have been rallying lately, based off these Fed comments, about slowing the pace of hikes and stuff like that. So, there's just kind of a lot going on, which brings me to my next point and topic of discussion. Is there are so many people that I've spoken with recently, they just don't really understand what's coming, and they don't really understand what's going on. I think everyone should be kind of scared shitless at this point, because after seeing what went on in the UK and Japan, we're seeing all the pain in Europe, and I have a lot of anecdotal evidence that I'm hearing that people here in Canada are renewing their mortgages, and they're going from interest rates of like 2% to like 6, 8, 7. This is really, people are at risk of losing their homes. They don't know how much longer things can continue. Of course, we're feeling the pinch. We got high interest rates and high inflation, and so that's just one kind of piece. And then the next thing is you got other people who are trying to trade, all of the destruction that's going to come, and it's just like, you don't trade a financial collapse. You prepare for one. And that's a big, big difference. And how do you prepare for something like that? Well, there's obviously, the prepping thing, like, secure your own food, water, your own kind of resources, make sure you have access to electricity and that type of thing. That for the most people, especially if you're in cities, is really, really tough. I'm sure there's prepper channels out there that can tell you all about how to do it. I'm not that guy. I don't do that stuff. I don't really know very much about it. So I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone there. But that's actually a good thing to have, in your back pocket. If you have a decent plot of land and you're on well water, for instance, and you have a garden or something like that, those can be really, really useful things. In all of my reading on the Great Depression and a bunch of documentaries that I saw, people had it really, really hard. But the one common thing that I noticed, and this goes for the hyperinflation that happened in Austria and Germany after World War One. If you had food, if you grew your own food, life wasn't that bad. You weren't living large, a life of luxury or anything like that, but you had food and you had something to trade and barter with. Whereas if you didn't, you faced hard times. But anyways, my point, you prepare for a financial collapse. And how do we prepare? Well, we prepare by not drowning in debt. Try to get out of debt. Pay off as much as you can. If you can't, if you're struggling with credit cards, get the credit cards paid off. If it's not everyone can handle paying off their mortgage, paying off their vehicles, and paying off, credit cards and stuff like that. Pick one. Go over, see what Dave Ramsey says about his little snowball thing. Start with this and that. I'm not the guy to tell you about that. There's lots of stuff out there. They'll tell you all about how to do it. I'm just saying you want to minimize debt or get out of debt completely. The best case scenario, I completely got out of debt. And it's a good thing because interest rates are rising like crazy, and it doesn't really matter what things are worth and relative and this and that. The fact of the matter is debt is debt, and it's there no matter what price the thing that you took debt out on goes up or down. If you buy a house for $1 million and it goes to $200,000, you still owe the mortgage on whatever it was you took it out on. If you took out $900,000, you still owe that. They don't care how much your house is worth compared to what you paid for it and stuff like that. Debt is debt, and it's there until it's gone. So it's not going to be inflated away. The little guy's never going to win, and none of these bullshit stories like that. Get out of debt. Debt makes you vulnerable and extremely vulnerable to things like even just in normal times, like losing a job, or being downsized, laid off, any of that stuff. And maybe it takes you, 6 months to a year to find something else or whatever. Just imagine what life's like without having a mortgage to pay for. Having a little bit of savings in the bank. You don't have a vehicle payment. It's just literally like your monthly kind of overhead that doesn't include things like a mortgage payment or a car payment. It's just literally your groceries and utilities. And, that's a doable thing for most people. You don't need that much to survive a year if you're completely debt free. And you'll probably have a lot more confidence in that situation. So the other thing is too, some gold and silver is always good to have. Again, same thing with Bitcoin, stuff like that. I don't bet the house on gold and silver. I love gold and silver. It's great, but I don't have everything I have in gold and silver because that's just not prudent. It's not diversifying. And if you need to liquidate, you might not be able to get the best possible price. I mean, it's fine and dandy for people to, and I see a lot of this in this community, talk about gold. Oh, I'd much rather have, okay, if I were to take this, if I bought this yesterday for, I don't know, say $2,000 and I go to sell it today, I'm getting $1,750 if I'm lucky. You're only ever going to get spot when you sell this. So be careful. Maybe you might get a little premium or something like that, but not much. And so basically, why hold gold? Why hold silver? The reason is that it does offer that kind of financial insurance and protection if everything kind of goes bust. Central banks we saw last month have been record buyers of gold. They bought the most gold since the 60s, mid 60s. So that should tell you something. It doesn't have counterparty risk. It's stable. It does nothing. The past couple of years, it's inflation's raging. Like, what's gold? Gold's not responding, and I think gold's just maybe I don't really know why it wasn't quote unquote responding to that inflation. I think it did early on. And then the world didn't end, so it kind of came back down. And inflation started to pick up. But basically gold's kind of held its own. I mean, it's been in this kind of range, 2,000 to 1,600, call it. I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's kind of like not going to make you rich overnight. And even if they do this, great reset, whatever kind of financial reset, prop up currencies and that, it's unclear at the individual level, what that will mean for gold and silver. I kind of think of it as if the entire system collapses and we're back to money backed by gold, however, whatever the percentage may be. I just look at it as having this will just maintain my current standard of living and that of my family. I'm not buying this to get rich because I really don't believe it's going to make me rich. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it goes the way Bitcoin did and $80,000 an ounce or something like that. Great if it does. That's not why I'm buying it, and that's not why I own it and hold it. I own it and hold it as financial protection, and I fully expect that no matter what will happen, that I'll at least be able to kind of protect, my standard of living to a degree, and maybe not even fully protect it. Who knows? I'm not really sure what number or what percentage of gold you need to, protect your standard of living. I think 5-10% you're probably okay. Any more than that, I don't really know. So, and the other thing is have some cash, and that's unpopular, but the fact of the matter is, in a deflationary bust, cash is king, right? 2008, gold got killed when we looked into the abyss. And if that happens again, I fully expect gold to perform in a similar fashion. Gold will go down. That's why I like to have cash as well. The main reason I like to have cash is because it doesn't force me to sell things that I value, that I need, at depressed prices, at bargain basement prices, when I'm under a lot of stress and I need to sell. I don't ever want to be a forced seller. And I don't ever want to get margin called or anything like that, which is why I don't play around with leverage. That said, I don't have every single penny that I have in things like this, right? So, so that's the other thing. And finally, I'll just, I know it's kind of gone on quite long here, but I'll just kind of address the whole Trudeau-Xi altercation, or they had some words on the sidelines of the G20. Basically, they had a private conversation about 10 minutes. I think Trudeau, said, hey, we don't appreciate, you guys spying on us and buying off politicians and stuff like that, supporting their campaigns or whatever, anyway. Basically, at the end of that, they leaked the conversation, or they did a printout or a readout, a press read or whatever of that conversation. And it appeared, the next day in the newspapers. She saw it, got pissed off. Hey, man, we speak frankly and open, and and then you go kind of leak everything to the press. He didn't really like that. He's trying to bully Trudeau and kind of dress him down and stuff like that. And I hear, like, back here in Canada, it's like, ooh, we just pissed off China. And I feel like some people, are kind of like, oh, hey, he's our prime minister, and like, let's kind of, get the fires of patriotism going here. I have a little bit of a different view. I think I'm not a huge fan of Trudeau whatsoever. He's done more, as far as I'm concerned, to destroy this country than anything. And what do I mean by that? I mean launching a full assault on the whole Canadian energy complex. Everything from, mines to pipelines to everything, storage and terminals and everything. He's done more to put us in the worst possible position than anything else. The world is facing a massive energy crisis, food shortage, is in dire need of fertilizer, and he caps, fertilizer production in Canada, and he, has done everything possible to stop all of our energy projects and stuff. We could be shipping LNG if we had, the political will to actually get something done. We could be shipping oil. We could be shipping finished products. We should be building refineries and building and refining diesel fuel that the entire world needs. You can put that crap on tankers and ship it wherever you want, whether it's the US or Europe. Europe runs on diesel. But anyways, we don't. And what else? And just kind of, his government's been long in the tooth. It's just a complete joke. He's more than doubled the national debt in Canada in his short, or it's not short, but, in his 7 years as prime minister. I mean, what more do I say? Just buying votes, giving money to everybody. Budgets, he's quoted as saying budgets balance themselves. Okay. He's just done more damage that I'm not sure that it's easy to recover from this type of damage. It takes decades to roll back, what these policies have done to the Canadian economy, our energy sector. Instead, what have we done? We've shut down, developing real things that will produce real wealth in favor of speculating in the housing market. So there you go. This whole thing's coming down. It's going to go bust. And, I guess Trudeau, who will he blame then? But anyway, that's it for my video today, guys. I know it's a long one. Hope you enjoyed the discussion. And I hope you guys are preparing and trying to keep a level head about things. And hope you're all doing well. That's it. Take care. Remember, like, subscribe to the video. Check out the website, My Road to Wealth and Freedom. The link is down below in the description. Cheers.